Okay, sorry about that. Looks like I was having some technical difficulties. But once you've downloaded RStudio, this is how it looks like on a Mac. You can drag and drop it into the application folder.
Hi, Justin.
Yes, hi.
Yes. I just had a question. Is there a way you can give us like a brief layout of what are the things that we need to finish downloading and setting up for us to be all set for this class?
Yeah. So you should be able to get to this RStudio screen, which you should be seeing right now. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
has everyone been able to get to this point?
Yeah.
Okay. So once you have RStudio up, what you're going to want to do is, and I'll just give you a brief introduction of RStudio. So on the left-hand side, we have the console. So this is actually the barcode where you're going to be inputting codes into. On the top right, you have this environment tab. So here's where you're going to actually be able to load in different data sets. Down here, we have these different tabs here. So we have the files tab where we can look on our computer for different R files. There's the plots, packages, help, and viewer tab. So the first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to go to the packages tab here. And if you haven't installed the Mosaic package yet, we're going to want to do that. So we'll hit this install button, and then it's going to install from the repository, and we're going to type in Mosaic, Mosaic. Okay, and then once you've done that, and you make sure that this check mark is checked off install dependencies, and then hit install here. And what that's going to do is it's going to put in the code, install Mosaic, and it's going to install the Mosaic package onto your RStudio. So this is important because in this course we're going to be using the Mosaic package for RStudio to answer the questions in the class. So if you haven't done that yet, you're going to want to install the Mosaic package.
Okay. Quick question.
Yes.
I was following the tutorial because that was in the beginning of the week, and over there, there's the Mosaic package, and there's a few other names he had mentioned in the tutorial. So I was trying to download those few. So is there anything else besides what you just shown us?
So yeah, if you just do what I just did, it should install all the dependent packages for Mosaic. You're going to be using the Mosaic package, but the Mosaic package relies on a few other packages. But so long as that checkbox that I just showed you in that last screen was checked off, it should install all the prerequisite packages. Um, so that's actually what it's doing right now in the console. So it's actually pulling all those different data sets right now and installing it onto my computer. So
Yeah, yeah, I see that because I was trying to do it the individual way and kind of messed up in the middle.
yeah, I'd say this way is easier if this works. Some people might have some issues with that, but this is pretty much the most straightforward way, in my opinion.
Okay.
When I tried to install it that way, I got an error code that said status code 403 returned. But when I entered in into the console to install the package, I was able to install it that way.
Oh, okay. So it did work out for you then, Kevin?
It did, but why did I get a status code 403 when I clicked install?
Yeah, I'm not too sure. I'm not so sure about that error code. Sometimes R will have different errors, and especially each computer is going to be different, so sometimes the installation will be different.
Yeah, and so my original our question was, I'm not able to, I keep getting error codes for bar graph and tally.
Right. So that we'll go into that. That's because you didn't have your Mosaic package loaded up. So my computer, it says that it just finished downloading the Mosaic package. I did get an error here that says there's no package called.
Yeah, so that's what I did. I reloaded it and restarted it, and it's still not doing it. And then so I loaded the dependencies individually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, YAML and some of those, and still having an issue.
So here, it was giving me an error that it didn't have the package YAML, so I just went in and did install package
Yeah, I did that.
so that we have make sure that we have that.
Yeah, Nathan had posted something that you may have to load those individually, so I did that. Still not able to tally and bar graph.
Right. So here's what the next step is. So what we just did was we just actually downloaded and installed Mosaic and its dependency package into RStudio. Next, what we're going to have to do, and we're going to have to do this every time we load up RStudio, is in this packages tab, we're going to scroll down until we see Mosaic here. So this is the Mosaic package that we just installed. We're going to check that off. We're going to check it, and what that's going to do is load up the Mosaic package. So now that we've done that, Mosaic has actually been loaded onto your RStudio session, so that you're going to be able to now use those commands. So if you don't have this little check mark checked off, you're going to get an error because you're entering Mosaic command. Mosaic hasn't been loaded up yet. So now that we've loaded up Mosaic, now we can enter in all those different commands. Has everyone been able to get to this point thus far? Been able to install RStudio, install Mosaic, and load the Mosaic package?
Yeah, no, not the package.
Okay. I didn't.
Sorry, you have a question?
Yeah. Since I was trying to download them individually, so I had lost the psych package. I believe that's what it's called.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm not sure how to retrieve that back because now every time I try to open the Mosaic or put the check on, it just says I don't have that package.
Okay. So which package is it saying you don't have?
The psych package.
So what I would do is just hit install here, and then whatever package is telling you that you don't have, just type it in. So is it PSYCK? OCH rather?
Yeah. Okay. I'm just gonna try that once more because last time I tried. Okay, I see it now.
Okay. We're gonna hit install and see if that would work.
No matter what I do, I get status code 403 returned. If I type it in the console or I try to install it, packages.
So I'm not exactly sure. Okay, so let me see here. So you said you get a status code 403. Can you double check that it says install from repository when you're hitting this install and not?
Say that again.
I just wanted to make sure that when you're on RStudio and you hit install from, it's saying install from repository and then it says CRAN on it.
That doesn't even come up. I'm in the RStudio cloud.
Oh, okay. So you're on the cloud. I see. You're not on the desktop version.
Mm-mm.
Right. Right. Okay. So let me take a look. I actually haven't used the cloud that much. Let me see if you can load a package on.
And I just had one quick question also. I did install, like how you had shown me, the Psych package, and I just wanted to know, since you put a check mark on the Mosaic and Mosaic data on the list, do I have to do the same thing for Psych, or
Yeah. I mean, if your Mosaic package is saying that it needs that package, then you can go ahead and check off Psych as well.
even after installing it?
Yeah. I mean, if that's what your particular package is telling you, then you can do that.
Okay. Thank you.
So, right. So if everyone's been able to, on the desktop version, load up your Mosaic package, that's pretty much, as far as installation goes, that's what we need you to get to, is be able to have RStudio on your machine and have the Mosaic package loaded. And then the rest of the course will basically be a lot easier as far as getting your R going and just following the direction. And I'm just looking at the cloud version because I'm not actually as familiar with that, so I'm just going to take a look.
Okay, and also, is there, like, we would have to save the applications that we have done, or it's just going to come automatically the next time we open up?
So once you've installed the Mosaic package, it's installed on your RStudio, so
Mm-hmm.
you don't delete it off or anything. But what you will have to do is every time you reopen RStudio, you're going to have to go down to the Mosaic package, just check it off in order
Okay.
to load it, as opposed to reinstalling it. You won't have to reinstall it again. You will
Mm-hmm.
go to packages and check off Mosaic, make sure that it's loaded. Otherwise, those Mosaic commands won't work. So a lot of people who are in your position who haven't been familiar with R before, they'll start putting in commands and they'll say, "I'm getting all these errors." It's because the Mosaic package isn't checked off; it's not loaded, and that's why you're getting those errors.
Okay, I see. Thank you. So, it's just every time we turn it on, we're just gonna have to put checks on these, the Mosaic checklist, and then after that, we will be able to do our work.
Yep, you got it exactly.
Okay, so there's nothing else with this installation left.
As far as installation goes,
Uh-huh.
no. And then I can walk you guys through how to run some commands as well, on a sample data set. I do wanna take a look at the
Yeah, you can definitely do that. You can definitely do that. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I restarted it and it did come up for me. So let's see if it's gonna. There, it's installing. I think. Okay, I got the Mosaic on. Now it's just saying can't find bar graph function.
So are you on the desktop version now, or are you on the
No, I'm still on the. I restarted the cloud version, and it did install Mosaic data, and so that is on, but it's still not doing tally and bar graph function.
So you're on rstudio.cloud, the website, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. So just take a look. Okay, so I just pulled up the Studio Cloud. So I'm going to try to install Mosaic on here.
Yeah, I got Mosaic on. I was able to do that. I restarted it and was able to install it. I guess it's just quirky because the fifth time I did it, it went on.
Mhm. So
So
I'm not as familiar with the cloud version, but I'm gonna try to walk through it with you and see if we get to work.
So I have the data set loaded. I have everything loaded. It's just not running the functions.
So I'm just installing the Mosaic package on the cloud version. So
Mm-hmm.
and also if anyone else's desktop version is not working, or say like if they're traveling and they're on a different computer, they can use this cloud option, which is nice. So here it's also giving me this error that there's no package called YAML. So I'm gonna install.
Yeah, it seemed to install everything for me. Mosaic data, yeah.
So I just went ahead and installed YAML, and then I go to my package tab, and then here it says Mosaic. So I'm just gonna check that off. And it looks like that did work. So now the Mosaic package is loaded. So once the Mosaic package is loaded and checked off, you should be able to run those commands, those Mosaic commands. Okay. So now that everyone, or Deborah, has that worked for you as far as?
Yeah, it worked, but I still can't get it to do bar graph and tally.
Okay. So let's go through that now. So now that if everyone's been able to get RStudio installed, loaded up, and have the Mosaic package loaded up, we can next load in our data set and load in the PSET-R code that we have here. So let me just show you how to do that. So I'm just gonna go to the desktop of my computer and load in the data set, the Titanic.R data. So I'm just gonna click on that, and it's gonna ask me if I want to load it into the environment. I'm gonna hit yes. So what that did was it brought in the Titanic data set into my environment window. I'm also going to load in this pset1 rcode.r, which is going to bring in the code for the problem set onto the top left. So so once you've loaded in these two files, which can be found on the course website, I can show you how to find these files if you're having trouble finding them. You should be able to complete the rest of the homework from here. So just to show you, this is what the Titanic data set looks like. What we can do is we can click on here, which will put in the view Titanic command into our console. And now we can actually visually look at our Titanic data set. So we have different variables here: gender, age, name, the fare they've paid, whether they're in the upper class, middle class, lower class, and whether they survived or not. And so you were saying you were having trouble with the bar graph command. So what I like to do is we're giving you all this code here, and we're giving it to you as an R data file code. So what you can actually do is, since you have your Titanic data set already loaded in here, you can actually just take this code, the bar graph code, you could highlight this whole entire code here,
And run it.
and then hit up here and hit run. Yeah, correct.
Yeah, that's what I did.
So what that will do, it'll put it right down here in the console, and then it'll bring up the bar graph on your bottom right. Is that not working for you?
Nope, I get a code that says could not find function bar graph.
Okay, because it should work so long as you have the Mosaic package loaded. Let me see. I'm going to try it on the cloud. I'm just uploading the files. Loading the Titanic data set, which worked.
So it says the downloaded source packages are in, and it tells you where they are. It says they're downloaded for Mosaic data. Is there another way to confirm that Mosaic is on there?
Yeah, so what you're going to have to do is you're going to go to this packages tab, and then you're going to look to see if there's Mosaic, the package Mosaic here. And if the package Mosaic is here, you're going to want to make sure it's checked off. If it's checked off with the little checkbox here, that means it's been loaded correctly. If you don't see a Mosaic here, and you don't see that check mark checked off, that means it's not going to work.
Yeah, Mosaic is there, and Mosaic data is there, and it's checked off.
Mosaic is checked off?
Yep.
Right. So then if you've loaded up the Titanic data set, like I've just done now, and I've also brought up the
So it's loaded, but it's not in my, it doesn't appear up in my global environment.
Okay, so what you're going to want to do is, if you see it down here under files, you're just
Yep.
going to put your clicker over the Titanic.r data in blue and just click on it. And then it's going to ask you if you want to load it into your global environment.
Yep, it did. It's there.
Okay, yes. Okay. And do you have this pset1 one code up here? It can be helpful to have it just there. I mean, it's not
Yes, I do.
So then what I just do is I go over here, just highlighting this entire code here, and I'm going to hit run.
Yep, I'll do it again. I've been doing that. It just hasn't run. Let's see. Now I have it. Thank you very much.
I think what the issue was you didn't have the Titanic data set loaded into the global environment. So you just want to make sure that your whatever data set that you're looking at
appears up top there.
And then so that's pretty much the two things: is you're going to need Mosaic to be checked off, and that whatever your data set that you're working with is loaded in, and then these commands will all work from here on out.
Great. Thank you.
Sure. So yeah, so basically, if you're able to get to this point, this is pretty much the hardest part as far as installing R. And so if you're able to get all this, the rest of using R should be fairly straightforward, since we do give you the commands and the packages, so you're able to play around with it on your own and run these different commands. You just want to make sure that you have the Mosaic package loaded, that you have your data set, the correct data set that you're looking at in your environment, and you're running the proper code. Another thing that people sometimes get tripped up on is the commands are capital sensitive, so you want to make sure that if you're typing bar graph, it's all lowercase and not with a capital. And also, these symbols make a difference. So, and we'll go over that in further sections, but we'll teach you what this vertical bar means, what this symbol means, and spaces matter. So it's if you've ever had any experience coding before with different languages, um, it's like that because R is pretty much a computer code. But RStudio makes it a lot easier because we can point and click a lot, which will then put the representative code into the console and run it for us. It makes our lives easier. If that makes sense. Irene, I saw your question. It says, does it help to type require mosaic? Require mosaic is just going to load the package mosaic, just like if you were to point and click on it in the packages tab. So whatever you prefer to do would work out best. I mean, for me, I just find it easier to go to the packages tab and click mosaic. That require command, that won't load it in every session, if that's what you might be thinking. Unfortunately, you will have to go to the packages tab and make sure that it's loaded each time you run RStudio. So hopefully that was helpful for some RStudio questions and answers. That was pretty much my goal for tonight, was to make sure that everyone was comfortable getting RStudio installed and being able to go through the questions for the homework. Does anyone else have any other questions as far as material or RStudio administrative that I can help answer?
You helped me. Thank you very much.
Glad to hear it.
And I also had another question.
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Okay. Okay, so I just want to know how far are we gonna have to like be using this? Like, as in, you said we're gonna be provided the commands and the codes. So what's basically our part? Is just I want to know, like, when it comes to the problems and exams and just overall everything using the RStudio.
Yeah, sure. So the idea of the course is we're using RStudio to help you learn statistics. And so for each problem set, we're going to provide you with the codes and provide you with the data set. So you're going to have to be able to load in the data set and run these commands on your own. And then you'll be given an output. So for instance, with this command, we got a bar graph, and part of the question might ask you to save that bar graph or interpret that bar graph, or use the output. So basically what we're looking to have you know is be comfortable with inputting these commands and understanding how to read the output, which we're going to be teaching you through the course. So for instance, there's a tally command here. So if you run this tally command, you just have to hit run here. It's going to give you this output. So we're going to expect you to know how to read this output. And in this context, what the tally command really is just doing is it's basically just categorizing, right, between the variable class, and it's taking the 1045 observations here, and it's classifying them between the lower, middle, and upper class. And by putting this in, we can ask you which class has the greatest number of passengers, for instance, and we'd expect you to be able to answer that. If that makes sense, Fatima. And then on top of that is you're going to have a project at the end of the course where you'll be able to independently pick your own project that you'd like to work on and run your own analysis. So, hopefully by the end of the course, you're going to be a lot more comfortable working with this program than you are right now, and all of you will have great projects to submit by the end of the class.
So we're going to be expected to write some code for our final project.
So the codes we're going to give you. So really, it's just a matter of changing the variables to fit whatever data set that you're particularly interested in. I mean, for the project, I believe you can actually use one of the data sets that we've given you in the class. I think you're welcome to pick your own data set, but you don't have to. So as far as it's more of an independent project, so you can pick what specifically you're interested in. So you're going to pick a question that you seek to answer, and then through your analysis, which you can use our studio with, you're going to seek to answer that question, if that makes sense. So maybe you want to look at the Titanic data set, and you're curious about, is there a correlation between people's age and whether they survived or not, or how much they paid for their ticket and whether they survived or not. And then you could actually use your own analysis through what we're going to be teaching you through the class to go ahead and answer that question. If that makes sense.
Okay, so I just want to just sum it up. So basically, we're just going to be given the information, and we're expected to just run it through with the options here, and then like basically answer the questions based on the results that we find in the panel over here.
Yeah, that's right. For the problem sets, for the exams, you're not going to be using the R program. We're not going to expect you to have the R program open for exams. But what we can do is we can give you some output data from R, such as this, and we can ask you a question where you have to understand how to read the output data and how to interpret it. So we could actually give you a bar graph like this and ask you a question on this. We could say, you know, for instance, in this, we could say which class had the most amount of people in it, right? And you would look at this bar graph and you would see that the lower bar had the highest number, and answer a question based on that information. So for the problem sets, yeah, exactly right. You're gonna run those codes, which we're giving you with the data set, and you're gonna answer the questions for your problem sets, and then for exams, you're just gonna have to be able to understand how to read that output data and answer the questions based on that. We're not asking you to code on the exams.
Okay, thank you. And I just had another question about the missions and just overall, like, is there a set time, like exactly how much it takes on average to complete those things?
No, I mean, every student is going to be different. I mean, you know, the students in this course are diverse, and you know, some students have taken statistics before, some haven't. Some are familiar with math, some are familiar with computers more than others. So I'd say there's not really a particular amount of time that, you know, you just have to complete it by the deadline. But as far as how long it's taking you, it's really up to the individual. I'd say probably a lot of people are finding that the first one is going to take a little bit more time because of this installing R. But once you've installed R and you're more comfortable with it, there'll probably be a lot quicker for you to complete, because that's really probably take up the most amount of time for some students who've had issues with R. But
Okay.
once you've got the hang of it, which you know, most students do fairly quickly, it becomes a lot easier for them, and fairly routine to answer those R questions. I think it becomes more about understanding it and understanding the material through the class.
Okay, so you would say for like whoever has reached to this point, they're safe to go and just do the mission?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if
Okay.
you're not running into any errors, I'd say, you know, go for it for as far as the R portion goes, and then, you know, just look over whatever course material you need to. But I think, I'm sure that you'll all do great, as long as, you know, you didn't have any questions on the material thus far.
Okay. And the materials, just one more thing, the missions that's given per week and the modules that's given, so it's going to be based on the information of that week, or would that also be like the previous week's information would be kind of incorporated in there?
Yeah, so it's going to cover the most recent material, but that being said, the material can be cumulative, so that
Hmm.
basically some weeks it can build on previous weeks. It's going to test you, it's going to quiz you on the most recent week, but that being said, it might build on material that was taught in a week prior.
Okay, I see.
And then for the exams, they'll be a cumulative exam from everything that's been covered up to that point.
I see. Okay, thank you. And the quizzes that's just in there. I know it's not necessary. What would be like the purpose of that?
Um, Sorry, like the quizzes throughout the modules. You're asking me?
Yeah. Hmm.
Those
Yeah.
are
Yes.
those are pretty much just double check that you're understanding the material correctly, and just to test your knowledge and see if you had any gaps in your understanding, or something that you might want to go back and rewatch, because that's really kind of the key about learning is making sure that you've understood something correctly, and just to try to fill in anything that you might have misunderstood, so that you know when you get to the exam you don't trip up at that point.
Okay, so you would say it's basically necessary if you want to do good.
Yeah, I definitely say all the materials are definitely the idea is definitely to complete all of them. If you want to get everything you can out of the course.
Okay, and just one more about the supplemental materials. Is how would you say the importance of that is?
So supplemental materials you're referring to, sorry, you're referring to the textbooks? No, you're
No,
talking.
no, not the textbooks. Like where you were just before you scroll down. Um,
Yes, okay. So
the files, where the files are.
mhm.
Like underneath each module, yeah, those.
Oh, I see. Yeah, so you know these are not going to be necessary. They're not going to be tested on these materials,
Hmm.
but it's more for if you'd like to learn more about kind of more of the application of what we're learning. This will give you a better idea of how of what we're learning is used in practice. Um, so, for instance, the supplemental materials on data science and what is statistics by some other authors. So it's really nothing that's going to be tested of you. So like we're not going to ask you questions from it, but it's more for people who are curious about what is the application of this in real life, or where did we come up with the topic for each week. Since each week we're actually going through, we're going to use these different data sets, and we're going to have you basically take the role of a different kind of researcher to answer different questions. This is actually providing the source. So in this week, we're going to go over a data set that looks at children, and this will give you the original paper. So it's really just to give you context for those who are looking for a little bit more information on some of these case studies. If that makes sense.
Okay, so you'd say it would help out like in our final project, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, it could give you a little bit more context to think about how researchers kind of approach these questions. I think I wouldn't I wouldn't stress yourself out about reading every single one of these and knowing them, every single file here. But it's a nice thing just to scroll through just to give you some context, each week.
Okay. So what's basically necessary is just the PowerPoints and the RStudio supplement, I suppose, the other book basically, and the intro to statistics.
Yeah. So watching the modules is the most important, and going through all those requirements. And sections are optional; they're not required. So if you have any questions, I highly encourage you to come to a section and have your questions answered, but don't feel that it's going to influence your grade either way. And then we have the required textbooks, which are here online. So you can actually just download these for free. And those are good resources that will help you alongside the course, both with R. So this will help you with the Mosaic commands. It's going to teach you how to use R with the Mosaic package. And we use the Open Introductory Statistics textbook, which will help provide you more of a context for the statistics that we're learning outside of R.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.
And in case I'm missing anything else that's important, I'm not sure.
Sorry, in case you're missing anything else, you were saying?
Yeah. Is there anything else that's important that I haven't asked about?
No, I think you've asked great questions. I think if there's anything else, feel free to email us or go on the discussion board and ask a question. The course is designed to try to be as intuitive as we can make it, but that being said, students are going to have questions, so there's nothing wrong with asking a question. We're happy to answer them, and some of your colleagues are also happy to answer them as well on the discussion board. Students have been very collaborative in the past on the discussion board and answering each other's questions, which has been really nice. So just in case some of the teaching staff aren't available at that minute, likelihood is one of your classmates will be, and usually they can point you to the right direction.
Okay. Thank you.
Happy to answer any other questions if anyone else has any. I'm glad we were able to solve some art issues tonight and answer some questions about how the course is structured. That was kind of my goal for tonight. In the following sessions, I'm going to have another session tomorrow, by the way, but in the following weeks, we can go over a little bit more of our course material, and if anyone has any specific questions regarding the material, I'm happy to answer those. I can also prepare more of a lecture material so that we can get a reminder of kind of the big takeaway points from each week as far as the module goes. So that's kind of how I structure my sessions, but I do try to make sure that I answer everyone's questions, most importantly, because I want to provide that opportunity for someone who is just confused and or is stuck with R and just really needs to get that hashed out. So that's kind of how, Nathan also has his sessions as well, and we each have our styles. So feel free to attend as many or as little sessions as you like.
Okay, thank you.
Sure thing.
Appreciate it. Good night.
Yep. Good night. And of course, my email's on the website. So if you have any other questions, feel free to send an email, and we'll be sure to get back to you.